Hi, I'm John Kimmis, Technical Support and Training Manager for DrySteam. Today I'm going up on the roof to demonstrate the process for installing the XTP Humidifier with Outdoor Enclosure. This enclosure is CSA and ETL approved and uses heaters and cooling fans to properly operate in extreme temperatures. The enclosure is designed for mounting to the side of an air handler unit, to an exterior wall, or on equipment rails provided by the installer. This installation demo features an XTP humidifier with outdoor enclosure on the rooftop of DrySteam's manufacturing facility. The enclosure has lift points for a crane, but we only needed a forklift for our one-story building. The surface we'll be hanging the enclosure on is a prop that we fabricated for this video to serve as the side of an air handler. In real life, this RTU does not have a dispersion location. If it did, we would probably install 1 or 2 dispersion tubes or a rapid sorb dispersion tube system, either in the air handler or in a duct inside the building. Off camera, we used a hole saw to make this hole for the steam outlet tubing. We also pre-drilled 3/8 inch diameter holes for the mounting bolts. These holes have to be marked precisely to make sure the enclosure will be level and plumb for proper filling and draining. These are the mounting bolts that the enclosure will hang from. Loosening the steam outlet tube from the back of the enclosure will make it easier to hang the enclosure on the protruding mounting bolts. Notice how we left them out about a 1/2 inch to stick through the keyholes on the back of the enclosure. Notice also that we took the covers off of the enclosure. Not only does this make it lighter, but it also provides handholds, and you can see the mounting bolts through the keyholes. After reinstalling the steam outlet tubing and the bottom mounting bolts and washers, we need to add washers to the top mounting bolts. One at a time, remove the top 2 mounting bolts, put a washer on each, and drive them all the way in. All 4 mounting bolts need a washer. Once the enclosure is tight against the wall or air handler, make sure it is level and plumb. Correct if necessary. Important to know, the P-trap that you see with water running out of it is not the outdoor enclosure. This water is coming off the cooling coil inside the rooftop unit. Seal along the top and sides between the enclosure and mating surface to prevent water from running down the back of the enclosure. The enclosure has knockouts on the floor and back wall for electrical and plumbing connections. These knockouts are for electrical, and we'll choose to use the floor knockouts and run the electrical into the building through the roof. More knockouts. These are for the copper supply water line and the drain tubing. The enclosure ships with this adapter for the 1-inch supply water connection to 1/4 inch copper. After connecting the water supply, it's a good idea to insulate it to prevent sweating and dripping. While these humidifiers have user-selectable drain water tempering, we still insist on drain piping rated for water hotter than 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Copper is fine, and this CPVC is rated for 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Notice the orientation of the T connected to the cylinder drain. This can be oriented so the drain outlet is pointing toward the back knockout, or the way it is here, with the outlet above the floor knockout and pointed down. We like these grommets for the supply water and drain knockouts because their fins form an aperture just large enough for the tubing. This edge of the control board is labeled for all the connection points for field devices, like demand signal, airflow proving switch, and duct tie limit. To override the interlock on the enclosure, pull this knob out. It will reset when the cover is reinstalled. Aside from checking the electrode and high water sensor connections on the top of the cylinder, this could complete the connections inside the enclosure. But there is one more change worth making if constant monitoring of the humidifier is required, or if climbing up on the roof to check the humidifier status is a hassle. Let's move the keypad display into the building. This short cable can be replaced with a cable up to 500 feet long. So we'll connect this long cable to the board and drop it through the floor knockout, through the roof, and into our lab. Then I'll take the keypad display off of this bracket and bring it inside. While we're talking about remote monitoring, you can also run an Ethernet cable into the building. The web interface provides the capability to set up, view, and adjust the humidifier functions either directly or remotely through a network. This unit is also equipped with BACnet protocol building automation interfaces. There are several methods for getting our electrical and water through the roof. From this point, we would insulate the water supply and drain lines and run a flexible conduit through a gooseneck for the electrical connections. Now, in the lab and after installing dispersion and connecting the field devices to the control board in the enclosure, I'll connect the keypad to the cable that I dropped down earlier, turn on the water, and apply power. The controller boots up and the unit starts up in standby mode. All we would need for a complete ramp up of the system is to put the unit into auto mode. We also offer outdoor enclosures for our RTS, GTS LX, VaporStream, and STS humidifiers. See our complete product portfolio, literature library, and video library at drysteam.com.